What if I told you a personality quiz is my secret weapon for writing complex, three-dimensional characters? The Enneagram is a personality typing system that categorizes people into 9 core types, each driven by a core fear and a core desire. The Enneagram focuses on why people behave the way they do, which makes it a perfect tool for fiction writing. Because when you can understand your character's core motivation, you can write more believable actions, deeper emotional arcs, and a stronger conflict. Hello, my name is Haley. I'm an author, editor, and writing teacher who has taught the craft of writing to thousands of writers around the world. In this video, I'm going to teach you what Enneagram is, show you the 9 different personality types, and explain how to apply this tool to your own writing. Okay, first of all, what is the Enneagram? Basically, Enneagram is a personality framework which is made up of 9 core types, and each of those core types have a distinct way of seeing the world. Unlike some of the other personality typing systems out there like Myers-Briggs, Enneagram specifically focuses on each type's core fears, their core desires, and those unconscious motivations that make them do the things they do. This is absolute gold for writers who want to build strong internal character arcs, because it's not just about what a character does, but it's why they do it. This ties perfectly into Enneagram, which focuses on each personality type's desires, fears, and motivations. It basically gives you a cheat sheet for thinking about what might motivate your character. Each of the 9 types of the Enneagram has a core desire, so basically what they're searching for the most. This could be love, acceptance, promotion at work. They'll also have a core fear, something that they avoid at all costs, maybe discomfort, feeling poor, conflict with others. Each of the types also comes with the typical strengths, flaws, and coping mechanisms, which can give you a lot to think about in terms of the behaviors your character might exhibit. Because the Enneagram system focuses so much on not just what a character does, but why they might do it, what motivates them, what fears they have, it is an absolutely fantastic tool for things like crafting emotionally rich point of views, building that tension through internal conflict if you think about what a character might desire, what might motivate them, what they might try to avoid. And it's also really good for you to think about how to map your character growth or actually unravel that character growth altogether if you're creating a negative arc. As we move through this video, I want you to keep in mind that you don't need to make your character a specific, perfect match to a type. Rather, think about this framework as a springboard for creativity rather than a box that each of your characters need to fit neatly into. So there are 9 core types of personalities in the Enneagram system. Type 1 is the reformer or the perfectionist. Reformers and perfectionist characters have a core desire to be good, ethical, and right. And on the other side, they have a core fear of being bad, corrupt, or defective. These characters tend to be really principled. They stick to their guns. They're very critical of themselves and others, and they're often very self-disciplined and motivated. However, because type 1s are so principled, so disciplined, so driven, they're often going to struggle with inner criticism and rigid ideals. An absolutely perfect example of a type 1 character is Hermione Granger. Think about Hermione's quest for helping the house elves with spew. Think about how Hermione is so self-disciplined. She's always the first to have read all of the books. She has her hand up in every single class. But at the same time, Hermione struggles at points to believe in herself. She also struggles with flexibility. At the very beginning of the Harry Potter books, we see Hermione getting into conflict with Harry and Ron and the rest of her classmates as she struggles to step outside of herself and see how other people might view things. At the same time, that desire to be good, ethical, right, drives Hermione to be one of the most powerful characters in the entire series. She never even thinks about giving up on Harry or getting out of the fight because she knows that this fight is what is ethical and right. She is completely driven to see him succeed and to see Voldemort out of power. Type 2 is the helper. Now, helper characters have a core desire of feeling loved and needed. They want to feel wanted. On the other side, they have a core fear of being unworthy of love or being unwanted, cast aside, discarded. These characters are typically generous, nurturing, people-pleasing, but because of that, they may neglect their own needs or manipulate others in order to get that affection that they're seeking. Peeta Mellark from The Hunger Games is a perfect example of type 2 characters. Peeta is the quintessential helper. He is quiet, he is strong, and he shows incredible selflessness and generosity from basically the second we meet him on the page. From Katniss's memory, he's providing her the food that will keep her alive. And then throughout the games, he does every single thing he can to protect Katniss. But we also see that this trait of protection, of feeling generous, of wanting to nurture others, means that Peeta puts himself second. He never sees himself as surviving the games because he gives everything to everyone else. Later in the series, we also see Peeta struggle with his people-pleasing nature. After he's been tortured and has to kind of relearn who he is and what's true in the world, he reflects on the fact that he has spent so much time loving others and very little time loving himself. Type 3 is the achiever. Now, Type 3 characters want to feel valuable and successful. So just like Type 1s, they are driven. But these characters are driven less by doing what's good and doing what's right as the Type 1s are, and more towards what is valuable and what is seen as successful against societal metrics. Core 3s fear being seen as worthless or a failure. There's nothing worse to Type 3s than being seen as a failure. Type 3s, as you might imagine, are typically ambitious. They are image conscious, they're driven. And because of this, they might lose themselves in their persona or their achievements as they seek that ultimate feeling of success. Jay Gatsby is a perfect, almost romantic illustration of the core Enneagram 3 traits. Gatsby has dedicated his entire life to building a facade. Gatsby wants to seem successful, wealthy, prosperous, all to win the heart of his longtime love, Daisy. Gatsby is ambitious, he's driven, he's creative, and he actually fabricates all of these fantastic stories about himself in service of impressing Daisy and maintaining this image as the ultimate successful person. Because of Gatsby's 3 traits, he's really kind of recklessly bending the truth. He's using deception and manipulation because he's so desperate for acceptance and recognition, and ultimately admiration. Type 4 is the individualist, the romantic. Now, a Type 4 character's core desire is to be unique and authentic. And that core fear then, conversely, is having absolutely no individual identity or being emotionally insignificant. Typically, Type 4 characters are creative, they're expressive, maybe even emotionally intense. They tend to be prone to envy, longing, daydreaming, and moodiness. A good example of a Type 4 character is Luna Lovegood from Harry Potter. She's so creative, she wears radishes from her ears, she's constantly doing these dances. She is this really unique character that has absolutely no problem being herself. Actually, to not be herself would almost be like death to Luna. She's such an individualist that she can't even imagine what it would look like to not be true to herself. Type 5 is the investigator. Now, an investigator, as you might be able to guess from the name, really wants to be capable and competent. And on the other hand, they really fear being seen as helpless or useless or overwhelmed. These characters are typically observant, analytical, and maybe even fiercely private as they try to take on all the responsibility and burden from themselves. These characters tend to detach from emotions or isolate themselves to protect their energy. They see their tasks, their job, as the most important thing they can do, and so they isolate themselves and protect themselves from other people whom they might just see as kind of getting in the way of what they want to achieve. So you might already be able to guess this, but an absolutely perfect example of an investigator character is Sherlock Holmes. So not only is Sherlock the investigator personality, but he's obviously also literally a detective. Sherlock exemplifies all of the core investigative traits. He is curious, he's inventive, he's attentive to detail, he loves being in control of a puzzle. He is thirsty for knowledge and really detached from his emotions. He doesn't have many personal connections. Sherlock is also really insightful, and he's using his creativity, his deductive reasoning, his capability, and his competency to solve crimes. While an ordinary detective might rely on ordinary methods, Sherlock is anything but ordinary and really sees himself as the most competent because of his character traits. Type 6 is the Loyalist. Now, Loyalist characters want to feel secure and supported, so they really fear being unsafe or without guidance. When they are without support or without that safety blanket, whatever that might be, they're unmoored. They don't know who they are anymore. These characters tend to be really loyal, they're cautious, they're committed to the people around them. But because they seek that security, because they want to feel safe, they might be indecisive, or they're prone to anxiety or suspicion if they feel like something might come and threaten that safety blanket that they have. A really good example of a Loyalist character is Cinderella. So Cinderella is this humble, hardworking girl who just kind of accepts this really unfair, unjust destiny with absolutely no resistance. She kind of adapts herself to her stepmother and her stepsister's needs, even when they put her into this really horrible situation. So Cinderella is happy to be almost this second-class citizen because she's in this safe space and because it's all she knows. She just goes with the flow. Type 7 is the enthusiast. Now, enthusiast characters long for feeling satisfied and experiencing life fully. They want to have every single experience under the sun. They're the characters with a bucket list a million miles long. They really hate the idea of feeling deprived of any experience or any sensation. They really don't take well to being in pain, and they hate the idea that they might feel trapped or stuck in a situation. These characters tend to be really adventurous. They are optimistic, always seeing the sunny side of something. They can also be really easily distracted. They are seeking those pleasurable experiences. They're not wanting to do the hard things. They also really tend to avoid conflict. They're much more interested in the happy things of life than trying to get into conflict with other people. A really great example of a type 7 is Peter Pan. Peter Pan is the boy who couldn't grow up. He's almost a perfect metaphor for the enthusiast. Peter lives in Neverland. It's this magical land full of wonders, adventures, excitement. He never wants to grow up. To Peter, mundane life seems boring and useless. Besides all of that, Peter also exemplifies the personality traits of an enthusiast. He's bold, charming, he's endlessly excited and always looking for his next adventure. Type 8 is the challenger. Type 8 characters have a core desire of being in control and protecting themselves. They are number one. They need to be in control of every single situation, and they need to make sure that they are the ones who will emerge victorious no matter what. They also have this core fear, conversely, of being controlled or harmed or vulnerable. They will do whatever it takes to protect themselves from those uncomfortable feelings. Type 8 characters tend to be assertive. They are the leaders in a room. They are often decisive, making quick, strong decisions, and they are incredibly strong-willed. It is their way or no way. Because of this, these characters often struggle with trust. Other people might see them as aggressive or domineering because they know what they want and they go after what they want with no concern for what other people might think. A great example of a type 8 character is Kaz Brekker from Six of Crows. Kaz is the perfect challenger. He always has a scheme in mind. He is always trying to control the narrative, control all of the people around him, and he absolutely hates when something is out of his control. There is nothing Kaz fears more than being vulnerable. He is as decisive and assertive as he possibly can be, and often doesn't bring anyone else along in on his thinking because he doesn't trust anyone else. Other characters struggle with how aggressive and domineering he is because he doesn't put his trust into them. And finally, type 9 is the Peacemaker. Like their name suggests, peacemakers desire to have peace and harmony and fear conflict, disconnection, or tension. They tend to be really easygoing and agreeable and maybe avoidant of difficult situations. They tend to just go along because they want to and may suppress their own desires in favor of other people. A really great example of a type 9 is Frodo Baggins. Now, Frodo is wise, he's compassionate, and he's selfless. He volunteers to take the One Ring to Mordor, even though he doesn't know where he's going. He does not know the way, as he says. But he still decides to take on this responsibility and move forward for the greater good. Frodo is the type to accept responsibility and make tough choices with that kind of typical calmness and grace that you'll see with a 9 character. So, how can you use Enneagram to design your own characters? Here's how I like to think about it. First, I like to think about what core desires or fears my character has. So let's say that I have a character whose biggest fear is being controlled. That means that character might be a type 8. From there, I want to think about the behavior and choices a type 8 character might make. So a type 8 character will avoid vulnerability. So I might make this character have trust issues with other characters because they don't want to put themselves in a position of needing someone else. Type 8s also tend to be very direct, so I might give this character a very blunt, direct speaking style. And type 8s tend to push back against authority, who they see as getting in their way. So I might set up a scene where this character goes against authority and has to make their wishes known. By understanding the type of your character, you can design conflict, interrelationships, and plot points around the behaviors that that type of character might exhibit. The Enneagram is more than just a personality quiz. It is a powerful tool for crafting characters with depth, emotional resonance, and believable growth. When you understand your character's core fear and desire, every decision they make, how they show up, all of that becomes more intentional and more impactful. If you want to take character design even further, make sure you check out my video on building compelling characters. In it, I cover 3 foundational questions that will shape everything from your character's arc to their voice. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe for more storytelling insights from Storylab.